G'day, Year 9. Today we're going to be looking at how we can use factorization to simplify algebraic fractions. So algebraic fractions are just fractions that contain algebraic expressions on either in their numerator, denominator, or both. And so in order to simplify a fraction, we need to identify a common factor between the top and the bottom of the fraction. Okay. Now you would be familiar with an example, such as if I had 6/8, you would know that you could cancel top and bottom to make this 3/4. Okay, but let's actually think about what we're doing there when we do that. We know that 6/8 is the same as 2 times 3 and then 2 times 4. We've essentially, when we've done 2 times 3 and 2 times 4, we've factorized those two numbers. Now, if we were to factorize fully the 8, we could then make it 2 times 2 times 2. But essentially, what we're trying to do is identify the common factor that we're timesing the top by and timesing the bottom by. Once we've identified that common factor, we can actually eliminate that because we know that 2 divided by 2 is 1. It doesn't actually get us anywhere, so we don't need to write it. We can cancel, and we're left with the unique factors on the bottom, okay? So no longer are there any common factors between the top and the bottom in this example. In an algebraic fraction, we're essentially doing the same thing, okay? We're trying to identify a common factor top and bottom. However, that factor might be algebraic, it might be a pronomial, it might be a binomial, it might be, say, x plus 2 or something like that. But it's the same mathematical process of rewriting a number as the product of all of its factors, and then cancelling out the common factors between the top and the bottom. So let's do an example here. So for part A, we have a trinomial. So again, we've got to think about what are our factorization techniques going to be. Look for a common factor first. There's no common factor on the top, so I can't take that out. I have to think about PSF. I've got a product of -6 and a sum of -1. So that means one of my factors is negative and the other is positive. It's going to be -3 and +2 because the bigger factor needs to be the negative one. So x -3 and x +2. And then on the bottom, I've got x -3. Now I've written brackets there just so that it's really clear that, hang on, I have a common factor, okay, that I'm multiplying top and bottom by. I can cancel that out. Now, because all of the factors are cancelled out on the bottom, I'm just left with 1, and we don't need to write that. So we can just write x +2 as our final answer here. We don't need to write over 1. That is a trivial piece of detail. All right, for part B, I look at my questions and I've got to think, what technique am I going to use? The top one, I've got 2 terms. There's no common factor. It's going to be a difference of 2 squares. So I've got x +4 and x -4. And then on the bottom, I do have a common factor. I can take out an 8, and I'm left with x -4. And then you can see I've got a common factor between top and bottom, which I can cancel. So I'm going to be left with x +4, okay, over 8. Now, I don't really need those brackets on the top there anymore because we're not multiplying that by anything. So our final answer would be x +4 over 8. We can't cancel this 4 and 8. Always remember, you can only cancel when you've got multiplying. Okay, if you're multiplying all of the top and the bottom by something, you can cancel. But because we've got this big plus sign, we can't cancel out anything between that 4 and 8. Okay, besides, the factor needs to be common with top and bottom. So you need to write the expression as a factor train. That is all of the different factors multiplied together, and then you can cancel. You can't cancel until you've done that. Okay, let's look at this example here. So here we're multiplying 2 different fractions together. I'm going to factorize, and then I'm going to look for ways that I can simplify. So at the top, first one here, I can take out a 2, and I've got y -2 over 5. And then I'm timesing by 10y, but I know that's going to be 5 times 2y. And then on the bottom here, I have a common factor of y. So I can take that out, and I'm going to be left with y minus 2. Okay, now when we're multiplying fractions, we can essentially consider them as one whole fraction. So we can actually cancel with the adjacent fraction as well if we're multiplying them together. So I can cancel this y minus 2 with this y minus 2 because I've got a common factor on top and bottom, and they're all being multiplied together. And I can also cancel this 5 with this 5. So I end up with 2 times 2y over y, which becomes 4y over y. What I could have done, I should have seen that y is a common factor as well, so I can cancel that out, and I'm just left with 4 as my most simple answer. So look for all the different common factors you have. We could have done that as well, and that would have left us with 2 times 2. But either way is fine. If you don't see everything in your first step, it's okay. You just simplify again the next step. All right, now for this one, we are dividing. Now we know that when we have a fraction, we can flip and multiply if we're dividing by it. So I can factorize. I've got x plus 3 and x minus 3. And then I've got x plus 5 on the bottom. And then I'm going to times. And now I've got to remember that this bottom one is now on top. So we've got plus 5 and plus 6. It's going to be 5 and 1 as our two factors. So x plus 5 and x plus 1. And then the top one becomes the bottom one. It's going to be 3 plus 1. So x plus 3 and x plus 1. Okay, so now I've made it a multiplying question. I've got to look for common factors. I've got an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. I've got an x plus 5 and an x plus 5. I've got an x plus 1 and an x plus 1. All that I'm left with is an x minus 3 on top. Now, if you're left with the only factor being on the bottom, remember it becomes 1 on that factor. So just be careful of that. But in this case, the factor was on the top, so it just becomes x minus 3 over 1, which is just x minus 3. All right, last set of questions. We're looking at adding and multiplying. Now, we know that when we add fractions with different denominators, okay, we need to get a common denominator. So this becomes sort of 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6, which then becomes 5 over 6. Okay, so your first step is to find a common denominator. What you need to do that is multiply by a factor that will allow us to get that common denominator. So in this case, we multiplied the 2 by 3 and the top by 3, and then we multiplied this by 2. So what we need to do is work out what factors are we missing between top and bottom, between the bottom first, and then we need to multiply the top and bottom of that fraction by that factor. First of all, though, we're going to factorize so that we can see which factors we're missing. So for question A, I'm going to factorize this. I've got a common factor of x, and then x plus 2. And then I've got a difference of 2 squares, which is going to be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So both of them have a common factor of x plus 2, which is great. I don't need to do anything about that, but I'll need to multiply this first fraction on the left by x minus 2, top and bottom, and I'll need to multiply the fraction on the right by x. So this will become 2 and then x minus 2, okay, over x plus 2, x minus 2. And then this will become minus 3x, and then x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, you see what we've done here? We multiply the top and bottom by x. So I times that by x, I times that by x. I times this by x minus 2, because those were the factors that I was missing that the other ones had on their denominator. Okay, now we know that x plus 2 and x minus 2 is just x squared minus 4. So if we times that by x, we can now get our denominator, which is going to be x cubed minus 4x. And then we're going to get 2x minus 4, and then minus 3x on the top. So our final fraction becomes minus x minus 4 over x cubed minus 4x. Gee whiz. Okay, so there we go. That is our final answer there. All right, let's do one more. Now, if you want to pause it and then have a go at this last question and see if you get it right, that would be helpful. I'm going to go straight ahead with it now. So I've got to factorize to work out what factors I have in common and which factors I don't. So I've got minus 10 and minus 3. So I need to work out one of them is going to be negative, one of them is going to be positive. I'm thinking minus 5 and plus 2. So x minus 5 and x plus 2. And then plus 3, and then I can just take out a 2 here, and I get x minus 5. So I have a common factor of x minus 5, but I need to multiply this first fraction by 2, top and bottom, and then I need to multiply, so that's going to be times 2, and this is going to be times x plus 2 times x plus 2. Okay, and then I get 8, and then my bottom of my fraction is going to be that expanded form. So we can actually look at this already expanded one and then just multiply everything by 2 to get our denominator. So it's going to become 2x squared minus 6x minus 10. And then on top I've got 8 plus 3x plus 2. So all I've got to do now is expand this out, and I get 3x plus 6 over 2x squared minus 6x minus 10. And then I add those together to get our final answer. So plus 14, and then 2x squared minus 6x minus 10 is our final answer. So you can see here that this you get some pretty doozy algebra going here. You got algebraic fractions, you got factorizing, you got expanding again. This is probably the most sort of algebraic heavy thing that you'll do this year. So good luck with the questions today. Remember, you can rewatch these videos if you need to. Shoot me an email if you need any help, or use the social stream and help each other out. Have a good day.